Okay, let's get started. Actually, come to think of it, I didn't even open Desmume yet. Apparently we're dropping frames earlier. It keeps doing that at the beginning of streams, but since it's at the beginning of streams, it doesn't matter too much, I guess. Let's see. Recent. Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping to get this. I'll be honest. I was hoping to get this episode of this chapter done yesterday, but it's a pretty long one. It might take another stream after this one, even. I don't know. We'll see once we get to 3 hours. So. Uh, Okay, so I was listening back and I realized I didn't make Emma's voice different enough from my normal voice. So I'll try and make it a bit higher pitched. Mr. Wright, so what's going on with the case anyway? I am a little confused. Huh? Let's see. What is going on? The victim, Detective Bruce Goodman, was stabbed to death after 5 p.m. on the 21st. He died in the prosecutor's parking lot and the police department's evidence room. What's this and the evidence room part? The prosecutor's office and the police department are 30 minutes apart by car. Well, that's what we're gonna find out. Or at least try to, at least. Alright, let's do it. Glad she's in good spirits, but I'm not sure she's going to be much help with this. Don't be so sure, Mr. Wright. Huh? Would you mind coming with me? I'll prove these thick-rimmed glasses of mine aren't just for show. Let's go. Science awaits us. You know, I really don't think we should worry about the police department murder. There wasn't even a body found there. Who cares? Of course it was our victim who was killed at the department. And my sister would never do such a thing. I know it. That oil drum. Was it empty? The oil drum, kicked over by the chief prosecutor, was brimming with water. My sister, erasing evidence at the crime scene? Never! Even though she says they don't get along, Emma really likes her sister. That's not it at all! It's just, we're both professionals at what we do, and I trust her. Big words for a high school student. Well, whether there was blood stains or not, the water in that oil drum washed it all away. Ignore the strength of my science at your own peril, Mr. Wright. Huh? What's that grin for? This situation calls for one thing, and that is luminal testing fluid. Luminal? Blood is sticky stuff, you know. You can't just wash it away with a little water. Fact check true. Even if you can't see it, it's still there. But wouldn't the police have already done those tests? Never trust anyone's eyes but your own, Mr. Wright. Just give it a try. Me? Why do I have to do it? I'm a minor. I can't even drink yet. We're testing bloodstains with the stuff, not drinking it. Here, look. I'll lend you these glasses. Huh? You had an extra pair of those things? Everything's gone red. Just to test for a blood reaction, just spray the luminol on it. Like this, see? Touch the screen to spray it on. Okay, let's find us some bloodstains. Alright. I can see her eyes shining behind those glasses. So, is this a bloodstain? It's so... ugh. Emma, you're shaking. It's just, this is my first time seeing real blood. Scientific investigation in action. Okay, well, we definitely know this is a bloodstain. But, doesn't something strike you as odd? Scientifically speaking, of course. What's odd about this? Scientifically. The amount of blood. Shouldn't there be more? The perpetrator and the Detective Goodman fought here, right? Don't you think there'd be a little more blood? I definitely think so. I mean, look at all the blood on the sole of the victim's shoe. It's strange. If they fought here, there'd have to be more bloodstains than this. Hey, Mr. Wright. See how I'm marking up the floor plans when we find a bloodstain? See? I'm pretty handy to have around, right? Yeah. That's very useful information to have. I saved up my allowance to buy this. Luminal testing fluid information received from Emma. We can't be sure that the police will reveal all their evidence in court. Sometimes I fail to mention evidence that doesn't fit with their view of the case. And will drag that hidden evidence out into the light of day. Yeah. It feels like we're really investigating a crime now, doesn't it? This luminal stuff is gonna come in handy. Ah. Oh no. I wonder how that fluid of yours would react to a nice deli box. Miss Starr! You only trust your own eyes, Not bad, you two. This day-old deli box is on the house. Sorry, it's just that kind of lead and doesn't really get my mouth watering. You certainly put me in a tight spot today. My apologies, Miss Starr, but... No, it's okay. It was my fault. Oh, we know. I witnessed everything from that security room right there. But I was afraid it wouldn't sound convincing enough, you see. I was wrong to think that. I'm sorry. Sorry? You lied to on the witness stand. That's unforgivable. Little girl, don't forget what's important here. Even if the place I witnessed the events from was different, I still saw what I saw. I saw Chief Prosecutor Sky stab a man in cold blood, and that testimony still stands. I swear it on my honor as a detective. She stabbed Goodman. I know this photograph has something important to tell us, but what? So, you were a detective, weren't you, Miss Starr? Yes, it was a long time ago. Well, 2 years ago. No matter how hardened the criminal, when they faced me, they coughed it up. Coughed it up? They confessed. They babbled like babies. You know, I may seem like a demon sometimes, but I can be an angel too. I wouldn't doubt it. Every day, I drag the dirt out of the mouths of suspect after suspect. And before long, they called me the cough-up queen. Oh, and here I thought someone had gotten food poisoning from your lunches. And you were let go? Fired? I felt that I had found my dream job when I became an investigator. And if these prim and proper prosecutors hadn't let me go, I'd still be one today. It's all because of that case. The SL9 incident. SL... Wait, she doesn't mean... What do you think about this? SL9 incident. Oh, that knife. And on that note... Goodman was the head detective on that case, you know. Really? That knife was evidence from that case. The murder weapon. It was due for transfer the very day that Goodman was killed. As I suspected, SL9 isn't over. Not yet. Do you think you could tell us more about the SL9 incident? Okay, so this is the same thing as what we just saw. you she knew Goodman. I had one of those until 2 years ago. Back when you were the cough-up queen, right? We found this ID card here in the parking lot. Well, there's no mistaking that. It's definitely Goodman's. But it's the same ID as the man who was killed at the police department. That's impossible. I wish I could be so sure. If you think about it, I could have taken that picture from the guard room. But even I get flustered sometimes. So you went straight to the scene of the crime? And climbed the chain link fence in an effort to stop the murder? That's when I took this photo, yes. In other words, 5 minutes after the crime? Those 5 minutes are the whole problem. The hole in my testimony, as it were. The 5 minutes weren't the problem, Miss Starr. You lying was the problem. Listen, little girl. I've had my testimony disregarded before. And I wasn't going to have it disregarded again. Just like that time. That time? That's when I learned the truth. We're nothing to them. Disposable. Disposable? 2 years ago, it was the biggest case I'd ever handled. The police and prosecutors were desperate for decisive evidence. So they didn't solve it? On the contrary, it was solved quite cleanly. The criminal was caught and executed. Executed? Yes, the criminal got what was coming to him. It doesn't get any cleaner than that. The only problem was, they never did find decisive evidence. Not even a little. What? But the criminal was executed, right? Evidence. Of a sort. Made-up evidence. What? You mean they executed someone with fabricated evidence? The best part came several months after the trial. Every detective involved with the case was dealt with. Some were demoted to patrolmen, others found themselves out of a job. And you were one of those? Myself and one other person you know well. Wait, could it be... Exactly, Officer Jake Marshall. He's on security detail in the police department, isn't he? As professional detectives, we investigated that case from every angle. Jake was particularly determined. And then, it was over, and he was demoted. However, he hasn't forgotten, and neither have I. You haven't forgotten SL9? There was another side to that case, a hidden side. That's what we're after now. And no one up in their fancy offices can stop us. Wait! Those lunches you sell! There's only one reason I come to sell lunches in this accursed office. I come here to meet old friends. Boyfriends that can help me investigate. Miss Starr's old boyfriends? How many does she have, anyway? Just when the detectives on the case have disappeared, we find new evidence. There has to be a connection! So, rookie... What? It seems like you're serious about investigating this case. Yes. Then you should take this. Salisbury steak lunch? I know a certain guy who might help you if you tempt him with this treat. Steak lunch received from Miss Starr. Miss Starr? Officer Marshall, is he your... are you his... are you going out? Why do you want to know? I was just wondering what happened to him. A long time ago, when he was helping my sister do cases, he was so nice. He got along so well with my sister, it made me jealous. And he was nice to me too, back then. This would be when Officer Marshall was a detective. But now he's so cold. Jake and I are merely cooperating on this investigation. We're putting the past to rest, as it were. Nothing more than that. I see. Thank you. Officer Jake Marshall. Alright, let's see where else we can go. Well, this place is certainly tidy today. And it will be tidy tomorrow, too. Incidentally, he's not here. I'm sure he's off doing important investigations. I hope that's what he's doing. I guess I guess we'll have to come back. It's even busier here today than it was yesterday. The detectives are running around so fast, they're blurring. I guess it makes sense. A detective did get killed in their own department. So, the evidence room, the scene of the crime. According to the pamphlet we got at the front desk, here it is. She's like a kid at an amusement park. Ooh, a real crime scene. Let's go take a look. February 23rd, evidence room. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. The aesthetics of that are jarring. What's with the decor in this place? It's very eccentric. According to the pamphlet, this is the guard station for the evidence room. So beyond that door is the evidence room. The scene of the crime? It sure seems that way. Oh. Oh. What's wrong? It's those cacti. They're so prickly. So imposing. It's hard to think straight. If you can't handle the cacti, stay out of the desert. Yeah. What I want to know is, if this is the guard station, where is the guard? I have a feeling I know who this guard is already. It looks like there's a video feed from the evidence room here. There's a light blinking below the monitor. It says, recording. I bet we could use this computer to check on who went in and out of here. So why don't we? Look, on the floor, a lasso. Looks like it's set up to trap something. A trap? Here? Wait, I know. Maybe someone was trying to catch a wild bull in here. But the lasso missed. You sure have an active imagination. Yipes, that sure is prickly. It must be the real deal. I would think just one big one would be sufficient. This cactus is a lot like my sister, actually. Miss Sky? Encased in a cold, rigid shell with thorns pointing in every direction. Just like her. You know, I've been looking at this cactus a while now, and I don't see the resemblance. It's more an attitude thing than a physical similarity. There's a security guard uniform hanging here. It looks more like a costume than a uniform, honestly. A leather jacket, leather pants, a leather... What was that called again? A punchy? A paunchy? A pinchy? I know! A poochie! Wait, maybe that wasn't it. It's a poncho, but I think I'll keep that information to myself for the time being. It looks like there's a video feed from the evidence room here. There's a light blinking below the monitor. Okay. So do we try and move into the... Okay, so he's not here right now, so we can't get in. Okay. Let's go somewhere else, I guess. This place is charged with frantic energy, as always. Please! Huh? Wasn't that... One steak lunch, please! Oh, it's you. Detective Gumshoe. Now's not the time for chit-chat, pal. I'm a busy man.
What I really need is a steak lunch from Lunchland.
Oh, you mean one of these? Actually, it's not for sale. I think I just heard the sound of his heart breaking.
Now's no time for despair. We caught a criminal. Now we just need evidence.
The criminal? You mean...
You heard about the stabbing in the police department evidence, room, pal.
On the same day that a detective was killed in the prosecutor's parking lot, another detective was killed at the police department? And the perpetrator? Do you have a suspect?
Well, there was a suspect. Just arrested him, in fact. It's the biggest scandal to hit the station in ages. Everything's topsy-turvy.
But Detective Gumshoe, who was it?
Listen, pal, all I know is I need me a steak lunch pronto. Sitting around here talking isn't gonna fill my belly.
Wait, don't leave.
If you want to know more, head on down to the detention center, pal. Questioning should be over, so I figure he's down there having a good cry. Later.
He ran off to the evidence room. Well, this investigation is off to a running start. Alright. Is it gonna be Meekins? Please tell me it's not Meekins. Wow, everyone looks deadly serious here. Well, there was a vicious murder of a detective in this department after all. Yes, but the same detective was also killed at the same time in the prosecutor's lot. It's Meekins. Of course it is. It's making my head hurt. Well, first things first, I want to check out the crime scene here. Yes, you sound dead set on investigating. But don't mess up, or we could wind up dead. I doubt anyone wants more mysteries or dead bodies around here right now. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to help us much either. Maybe we should go and talk to Gumshoe a minute, I guess. No? We can't? Whoops, wrong place. Back. That must be one of the detectives. He's mumbling something to himself. I know. The killer used dry ice. If you put it between the latch and the door, the room could be sealed shut. This is good. I'll win a writer's award for sure. He's not writing a report. He's writing a novel. That must be the head detective. He's glued to his computer screen. What? Detective killed in the evidence room. Told no one outside the police department. No! I told that old lady at the restaurant everything. Someone's getting a demotion. Where do we go next? I have a guide pulled up. Just let me look. Oh, okay. We have to go to Wright & Co. law offices for some reason to get to the detention center from out of here. Okay. Still, I do feel better about things. A little. I mean, they caught the person who stabbed Detective Goodman, didn't they? Yeah. I guess they did. Best not to go too far down that road right now. Things will just get confusing. What was that? Sir, that's what I'm saying. Me, a perpetrator? I'd say I was the perpetrated against, sir. That's what I'd say. Hi. Greetings, sir. Wait, I know who you are. Excuse me, but this is Mr. Edgeworth, anywhere on the premises. I'm here, sir! At the request of the chief, sir! I've got your report, sir! Officer Meekins, so you're a guard here at the detention center? No, sir, I'm not, sir! I'm a little lost patrolman, like a lost little lamb, sir! Oh, I get it. You're here to deliver a report. No, sir, how should I say this? Wait, he isn't... Is he? You... Officer Meekins, you didn't... Did you? Perpetrator Officer Meekins reporting, sir. What? What? Now this is an unexpected turn of events. Sir, I'm a patrolman with general affairs, sir! Sir! Ow, I can hear you fine, Officer Meekins. I had some business that day, sir, and so I went to the evidence room, sir. The guard office in front of the room was empty, sir. So, normally there's a guard at the evidence room? That's right, sir, because evidence is kept in the evidence room, sir. Now the security officer was none other than Officer Marshall. Marshall? Then, sir, I happened to glance at the security room monitor. That's when I saw him, sir. A suspicious person in the evidence room. A suspicious person, sir. A suspicious person. Yow! What the heck is this guy doing? So, what happened then? After that, sir, everything went white. I saw red. I blacked out. And when I came to, I was here, in the detention center. How long were you out? Days? Might I ask, what happened to your hand? Sir, there was no one to bandage me, sir. So I did what I could to wrap it up, sir. A bandage on his hand. Just like Miss Sky. Yet another similarity between this case and the one at the prosecutor's office. First things first, tell us how you hurt your hand. And your hand, that happened when Detective Goodman was stabbed? Well, you see, sir, don't you think you should just confess? But sir, but there was nothing I could do. Nothing you could do? Sir, to tell the truth, sir, when it happened, when the detective pointed that knife at me, I just hollered, sir. And the next thing I knew, I was unconscious. The next thing you knew, you were... Huh? Then, when I opened my eyes, I was alone in the evidence room, sir. All alone. Alone because Detective Goodman had disappeared. What? Then when I looked down, I was gushing blood from my hands, sir. Oh, the shock! Oh, the sorrow, sir! Can you imagine how I felt? The victim's body disappeared? That's some story. Shoot, I skipped over something. I went straight for the bandaged hand. I don't mean to pry, but you are the perpetrator, correct? You killed Detective Bruce Goodman in the evidence room, right? Sir, please don't look at me with those sad puppy dog eyes, sir! If you had to label me as a persecutor or victim, sir, then label me victim. I would, but you happen to be in detention, and alive, and well at that. Ah, yes, well, that's true. Sir, I suppose you could say that. Did you know the victim, Detective Goodman? Well, sir, if I had to label him as a stranger or a total stranger, then I'd say he leans heavily on the total stranger side. So, you didn't know him? Sir, I work in a tiny department, devoid of light or other creature comforts. I don't know any detectives. So, if he was a total stranger, why did you stab him? Sir, I had no intention of killing him, sir. None. Nor do I have any recollection of killing him, sir. At least someone around here is more confused than I am. Do you think you could take a look at this? Hey! That's it, sir. That's it. That's it. That's what? My head was blank until this very moment. But, sir, now I remember. I remember, sir. You mean you remember what happened? Correct. That card. That card was the cause of it all. This ID card? Exactly, sir. That's exactly it. Nothing could be more exact, sir. Nothing. I'd better pry into this one a little deeper. Can you tell me what it is you do remember? Well, sir, you might say I'm a lost little patrolman. A lost little lamb, if you will. I didn't know what Mr. Detective Goodman, I didn't know Mr. Detective Goodman, who was in the evidence room. And that's why you thought he looked suspicious. Sir, I entered the evidence room, sir, and I asked the man to display his ID card. Well, that sounds pretty much by the book so far. That's right, sir! That's what I've been trying to tell you! So, you asked Detective Goodman to show his ID card. What did he do? That's the thing! Suddenly he pointed a knife at me! What? Sir, I assure you I was as flustered as you are right now. So I whipped and leapt at him. Detective Goodman pointed a knife at him? Do unto others before they do unto you. My father's own words, sir. What happened then? Well, my eyes, sir. Everything went right. When I woke, I was here. Right. So, Officer Meekins, why was it that they arrested you? What do you mean, Emma? Let's look at what we know. Now, Officer Meekins didn't know Detective Goodman, and the victim, whom he met at the scene of the crime, didn't show his ID card. In other words, we have no way of knowing if the victim was really the victim. And if this body just disappeared from the evidence room, we don't even know if anyone actually died. That's it, sir! That's what I wanted to say! That is, I did say something along those lines. Huh? But you still ended up here? They told me that it had to be him, sir. On that day, at that time, Detective Goodman was definitely in the evidence room. That's what they said. But you don't remember the events clearly. No, but the videotape is quite clear. Huh? Videotape? From the security camera. The crime! My crime! The crime I swore to stamp out! It's there! It's me! It's on tape! And you wait until now to tell us this? I'm sorry! Really sorry, sir! I'll hand over my badge! I don't deserve it! No thanks. I have my own. Well, guess we'd better go check out the crime scene. Let's go examine the computer monitors again. See if it lets us examine it now. It looks like there's a video feed. Okay, so it still is not letting us. Okay. Let me see. Did we miss something with Officer Meekins? Okay, we have to go to Criminal Affairs Department. Okay. My bad. Hey, Mr. Wright, look who's standing at the head detective's desk. It's Chief Gant. Are you sure this is all? Hmm? You know what it means if there's anything missing. Sir, I'm sure it's most likely totally perfect. We checked the drawers, the lockers, the garbage cans, the coat pockets, the pillowcases behind the computer monitors, the coffee machine. I see. Well, if anything does turn up, you call me right away. Deal? Yes, sir. We'll scour the place again, sir. That detective looks a little flustered.
Righto, my boy. How you been? Swim much?
Oh, Chief Gant, reporting for duty, sir. Why are you saluting him, Mr. Wright? Is Edgeworth gonna be okay?
Oh, Worthy? Oh, you know, they're doing a little inquiry committee with him.
Sounds like an inquisition.
Yep, well, we've had no end of trouble with the boys since last year.
You mean the incident on Gourd Lake?
It doesn't look good having one of our top people sitting in the defendant's seat. Now you got someone else found guilty in that case, right, Righto?
Von Karma.
A legend he was, undefeated in his 40-year career. Among court, you fixed it so he was caught for forging evidence.
Wait, I didn't do anything wrong. He did forge evidence.
In any case, the prosecutor's office is in a bit of a turmoil, you might say. Why, they'd do just about anything to restore their reputation. Now, depending on what that inquiry committee decides, it could be bad for Worthy.
What?
It's downright odd, I tell you. I mean, it happened at exactly the same time.
The murder at the prosecutor's office. Scientifically speaking, it's impossible.
Yes, but that's what the evidence is saying. Goodman was stabbed in 2 locations at the same time. That's what it says.
What evidence is this?
Now, Righto. I can't give away all our secrets just like that. And this in particular, well, it's a little sensitive. I can't talk about it.
I wasn't expecting much anyway.
You know, one thing I hate most is all is hiding stuff. Secrets. Can't stand them. But you know, it's a full-time job just keeping the head detective's trap shut.
Ah, he was the one you were picking on earlier?
Huh? You saw that? Whoops.
I wonder what it was that he wanted the head detective to do. See if we can kind of discreetly ask him.
Oh, sorry you had to see that.
What exactly did the chief of police want you to do?
Well, see over here? That's Goodman's desk. He wanted me to check it for anything that might be a clue. They took it away. They took away every last piece of garbage in the trash can.
So, nothing belonging to Detective Goodman is still here?
Of course not. Well, except for this.
What? You kept something?
Sure, why not? It's not important. He didn't even finish writing it. It's a lost item report, but it's only half complete.
A lost item? Did Detective Goodman lose something? The date that is on it is February 21st. I'll make a note of that, just in case. I should probably get a quick look around the crime scene. So, one of these must be Goodman's desks or something? These are detectives' desks. There are computers and files on each one. Funny, they're a lot tighter than I expect. Yes, okay. Is there something else we should be looking at? Oh, permission granted. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you a favor?
Well, I never thought the day when Righto asked me for help.
I was wondering if we could investigate the evidence room.
Now, Righto.
Actually, I'm sorry. I don't need to investigate after all.
Righto, please. Do I look like a selfish man?
Huh?
Heck, if anyone asks me, sir, can I borrow $50? I give him 50. No problem. So go ahead. Investigate that room to your heart's content. Knock yourself out.
It just goes to show, you never know until you ask.
And for you, here, you can borrow this.
Huh? Hey! This is Detective's ID card, isn't it?
That's a special card for guests, so don't lose it.
Yes, sir. It's an honor.
You just run along and do your best now. Later, folks.
It looks pretty cool on my lapel, doesn't it? Just think, a real ID. You seem happy. Yes, sir. Because, sir, we can get into the evidence room now. Sir? I think this place is a bad influence on the girl. Alright. So wait, we're... Okay, we got that. So... Security guard office. Okay. The evidence room is beyond that door. And we have the ID card from Chief Gant. Let's just walk in. It won't open. Aha! The card reader is turned off. See? What is that security guard thinking?
Howdy, partners. Well, well. What's made my Bambina's skies so gray?
Oh, Officer Marshall. Somehow, I knew.
What's that somehow I knew face? As you might have surmised, this is my saloon.
We're here to investigate the crime scene.
Yeehaw! That guard you got there on your chest. That's better than a sheriff's badge in these parts.
Yeehaw!
Well, what are you standing there for? Get along, little doggies. Crime scene's awaiting.
Looks like the card reader's on again. While we're here, I was wondering if we could ask you some questions.
Sorry, cowboy, but I got no mind to tangle with you hombres.
You're busy then?
Did I say that? I only said I didn't wish to speak with you.
Actually, you said you had no mind to tangle with us hombres. Will you really not talk to us? I was wondering if we could talk to you.
Sorry, Bambina, but I'm off to roam the lands like a tumbleweed on the wide prairie. Like a gunslinger loading his six-shooter, I say a little prayer.
What was that all about, Mr. Wright? I think he was just too hungry to talk. You're just saying that because his stomach was growling. You have no idea what he was talking about either. Well, in any case, we need to get cracking on this investigation. Pronto! That's true, we do. It's quiet. The investigation must be over here. So, this is the evidence room? It's really kind of like a graveyard. Graveyards are supposed to have grass and trees. This feels more like a morgue. Nice try, Mr. Wright. You can't scare me. Eek!
Whoa!
She slapped him? She slapped him, didn't she? Sorry, I thought you were a ghost.
I wouldn't recommend going around smacking ghosts on the head, pal. So is it true what I heard? Righto, please. Do I look like a selfish man? Heck, if anyone asks me, sir, can I borrow $50? I give them $50, no problem. So, go ahead. Investigate that room to your heart's desire. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, it's true.
So, Chief of Police Gant, will loan anyone $50? Even me?
Oh, so that's what you were talking about.
Actually, I was put in charge of the investigation for today.
Just for today?
Boss for a day.
Boss for a day.
But guess what? You got permission from the chief, so now you're boss for a day.
Gee, thanks.
First of all, you'll want to have this.
Alright, let's check out those floor plans a minute. Man, our evidence is getting pretty thick. Scene of the stabbing of Detective BD. Okay. Oh, it's just like an L shape. Okay. Alright, I gotcha. Alright, let's talk to Gumshoe some. So, Detective Gumshoe, your boss for the day?
That's right. It's an honor. After all, the murder took place right here in the police department.
But if you're the boss, why are you all alone? Where are your underlings?
They're using our findings from yesterday's investigation to prepare for the trial.
In other words, Detective Gumshoe got kicked out of the investigation again.
I'm adamant, though. I'm going to take control and put this case to rest. In my own evidence locker, pal.
You have a locker in here too, Detective Gumshoe?
Of course. I am a detective after all. They gave me a locker that only I can open, pal.
Only you can open?
I'll always believe in Mr. Edgeworth, so no matter what happens.
So, Mr. Edgeworth is with the inquiry committee now, right?
They're trying to figure out who's responsible for the mess up in court today.
I see.
I guess this is what you call fate. Mr. Edgeworth just can't get away from that case.
That case?
Yeah, that case. That SL9 incident, of course. That was the beginning of the end for Mr. Edgeworth.
Maybe we can get him to tell us more about the case.
This place is more high-tech than you might think. Every locker is fixed so only one detective can open it.
Using this ID card?
Well, that's the thing, pal. ID cards can be lost. Why, I'm on my third card since entering the force already.
That sounds like a lot.
Yes, but even I can't lose my own right hand.
Right hand? Oh, you mean your fingerprint?
Exactly, pal. The lock for each locker is coded with a fingerprint. And that's the only locker we can open.
Funny, they look like normal lockers.
These are the latest model. There's a trick to the handles, see?
The handles?
On the other side of the handles is a sensor, and if the wrong person touches it,
Zap, you get a shock.
that's what happened. My hand would be black and smoking every day. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. Detective Goodman's note, and that switchblade knife. I bet Edgeworth was the most surprised of anyone.
Because of the SL9 connection?
That was Mr. Edgeworth's first big case, you know. 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting that some people don't know, so that narrows our list of suspects.
That was the first time the world knew Edgeworth was a man to be feared.
But why would evidence from that case turn up now?
I guess it's not over, pal. Maybe there was some awesome loose ends left on that case. Now that was a bloody violent case.
Violent? So it was a murder?
A serial killing.
A serial killing? Maybe I don't want to get involved in this after all.
But the killer made a mistake, and Mr. Edgeworth built his case around that to nab him.
And this was 2 years ago?
That put Mr. Edgeworth right in the spotlight. I saw the rumor mill.
Rumors? About forged evidence?
It was supposed to be all cleaned up with the transferal the other day. It was the last job he ever did. Detective Goodman, that is.
Huh? What do you mean?
Detective Goodman was the detective in charge of the SL9 incident, see?
So that switchblade knife...
The victim took the knife out of the evidence locker.
Oh, the victim took the knife out of the evidence locker himself? Alright, let's take a look around a minute. What do we got? We got car door with handcuffs. Wow, look at this big pile of junk at the corner. That looks like a car door. There's a pair of handcuffs attached to the frame. Maybe the guy they caught was some sort of escaped artist, and he got away. Hey, that's one of those human profiles for range testing. He's been shot square in the forehead. Better him than us. I have a feeling that's a reference to something, but I'm not sure what it is. There's something sticking out of here. It looks like a shirt. Guess it must be evidence for some case. I wonder if Detective Gumshoe put this here.
There you go, pal. Making me out to become some kind of slob. I'm not responsible for the evidence here. That said, I bet that evidence locker was opened recently.
How do you know?
If you leave things hanging out like that, the evidence gets dirty or ripped. The guard checks on that kind of stuff and notifies the detective responsible. How many times have I had him bringing it down my neck about some silly evidence?
Sounds like Detective Gumshoe leaves evidence hanging out a lot too. I bet he doesn't tuck in his shirt under that trench coat either.
If you're gonna talk behind someone's back, don't do it right in front of them, pal.
What do we got here? Someone left a glove here, but only one.
Detective
Gumshoe, maybe?
There you go, pal. Making me out to be some kind of absent-minded detective. That's evidence from the case, you know.
You mean SL9? It does have a tag on it. Look! This one's open! And there's an indicator tag stuck on it still.
That locker's coated with Detective Goodman's fingerprint.
Detective Goodman's locker? Are you sure it's okay to leave it open like that?
Well, it'd be hard to get it open again if we closed it.
It's empty. They must have taken the contents elsewhere. Wow! Someone must have broken something big to make all these pieces. Detective Gumshoe, perhaps?
There you go, pal. Making me out to be some kind of hooligan. That's apparently from the case.
The case?
The SL9 incident, pal. See the sticker on one of the pieces there?
Another piece of SL9 evidence. I wonder what shape these pieces were in before whatever it was broke. You want to try to put it back together?
Huh, good luck, pal. That's no job for amateurs. Why, I spent a good 3 hours on that before I had to give up.
That's why I always carry around a tube of glue. Well, this piece does look like the bottom. Let's try putting the rest in place. Alright. How many fragments do we have? We have a good amount of fragments. Okay, we have 8 fragments. First things first. That piece. 3D puzzle time, I guess. Oops. Maybe... Yep. And then... And like... Nope. Yep. And then maybe this piece? Yep. What is this thing? I can't even tell. Guess we'll find out in a minute. Looks like some sort of vase or something. Jar or something? When's a door? Not a door. When it's a jar! Oh. Alright. Looks like we're still missing a piece, though. That's odd. Huh? Well, I think we did it, but some of the pieces are missing.
Hell, it took me 2 minutes to do. Promise finishing it.
Were some pieces stolen? Yeah. I bet they were missing to begin with.
Still, it doesn't look like the most stable kind of jar.
I kind of understand how it got broken. Unstable jar. I bet it's not actually like a jar you're supposed to put up in your room or something, you know? Put up in your room. Who's gonna put a jar up in your room? Ooh, is that a bloody handprint? That seems important. What's this? Blood? It's a little worn, but there's definitely a handprint here. Looks like someone tried to wipe it off. Mr. Wright, what if there are other bloodstains left in this room? We should use her testing fluid to check it out. Okay. I know, it looks different than most jars, to be honest. Let's see.
Allow me to say one thing, speaking as a detective. If I see a piece of evidence I know nothing about, I say nothing. Nothing!
That's fine.
You bet it's fine, pal.
Anyway. Oh, okay. Yeah. And it has like wood on the outside of it? Like as a handle or something? I don't know, it looks a little weird. Anyway, how are we supposed to spray things down? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe if I examine it again, it'll give me the option? Okay, blood. Oh, okay. Court record. Oh, no. Testing spray. Spray. Okay, got it. There must have been a massive amount of blood here. I've never seen so much before. I'm not a professional, but what's your opinion, detective?
Pale blue blood. Hey, Detective Goodman. Was actually an alien?
This proves that something really happened in front of this locker. Oh, I'll make a note of it on the floor plans.
Hey, if you didn't want my opinion, you shouldn't have asked.
More handprints. Huh? Why am I getting a reaction here? There's no reason for the murderer to touch the spot if he fled out the door. This just might be something significant.
Hey, that's some pretty amazing stuff you got there, pal.
What, this? It's called luminal testing fluid.
Where'd you get your hands on that?
Huh?
I'd like to get some too. I'll just borrow 50 bucks from the chief.
Where do you get this, Emma? At least by mine, by mail order. Well, I'd better jot this down on the floor plans. Alright, was there anything else? I knew it! This is someone's right handprint.
What?
What's the matter, detective?
This locker. It's mine.
It's yours?
Please, if you have to help me when they come to take me away, promise you'll testify that I wouldn't hurt a fly. You'll do that for me, won't you, pals?
This is an important clue. I'll jot it down on the floor plans.
I'm counting on you guys. Believe me, you can't trust the police.
What? But you're a detective. where else where we have to spray. Alright, I think that's it. That's odd. That should be it. More blood to the left. Yeah, I'm not sure what else the game wants us to do here. Yeah, I don't know. Try checking prints. I guess maybe we can examine it now? Okay, no, that's the exact same thing we just saw. Apparently Gumshoe's supposed to, like, talk to us after we find all of the blood. Shoot, is the game not working for some reason? That would suck. That should be it. I'm not sure why it's... Let me see. Okay, let me just double check that we did everything. So we said everything to him. We presented the Goodman's ID card to him. Maybe we're supposed to, I think we're supposed to go back and talk to Marshall. Or something, maybe? Oh, that's right. We forgot to present the steak lunch to him, so he'll talk to us. That's right, because he's hungry. Duh. Okay. Me big dumb. Me big dumb. Okay. Shoot, lost some time there. Alright. That smell. Ah, reminds me of Texas. So, Officer Marshall, you're from Texas? No, I just saw a special on television the other day. Is this from my baby? Yeah, Miss Star. What's this? What's wrong? A filet steak lunch. I see. I see. I don't see. I wonder what it means. Steak lunch give to Officer Marshall. All right, Bambina, you win. Ask. Ask. Nice. Well, I guess it's not too obvious. Maybe it is obvious? I don't know. I just forgot about the steak. Lunch, I guess. Finally, it seems like he's willing to talk. I guess that was, her signal to him that, like, hey, these guys are cool. I had them deliver your favorite lunch to you. These guys are good. Like, these guys are cool. You can talk to these guys. Officer Marshall, you're in charge of security for the evidence room, right? You've got good eyes, partner. It's an easy job, and I'm grateful for it. Actually, Officer Meekins at the detention center told us. Ah, that poor little doggy. Poor guy. I keep getting his name wrong and call him Meekly. He told us something. He said that when the stabbing occurred, you weren't at your station. Well, maybe I shouldn't be telling you this, but since I got demoted from detective 2 years ago, well, it might not look like it, but I lost my fire for the job, you know? So, what were you doing around 5:15 when the murder took place? Well, I reckon I was galloping down the highway on the back of my steed, Zippy. No, he was riding down the highway on his horse named Zippy. There's no need for people here anyhow. These newfangled machines do a bang-up job of keeping an eye on the place. You mean the security camera system? I don't take to machines much. Kinda like that stewed broccoli they sneak in next to your steak, you know? Miss Starr told us something. She said that you were a detective until 2 years ago. It was always my dream to be the rawhide wrangler on the scene of the crime. That's all gone now, like a drinking hole in the prairie fire. You're still investigating the SL9 incident with Miss Starr, aren't you? That was my case. It's all solved on the record books, but it smells like a bad game of poker. I can't let it go. That's all there is to it. What kind of case was it, anyway? We've heard the name so many times, but no one tells us what actually happened. There's some things you're better off not knowing, Bambina. Anyway, that case is officially dead as of 2 days ago. 2 days ago? The day of our case. That's right. The evidence transferals. Edgeworth was talking about the transferals, too. I know maybe 2 of the machines in here do. Only 2 of them? There must be a dozen. Like I said, Bambina, me and machines, well, I like them about as much as I like stewed cauliflower with my steaks. The easiest ones to understand are these here security cameras. Those are the ones that Officer Meekins mentioned. If nothing happens, the tapes are automatically erased every few hours. And Officer Meekins and Detective Goodman, are they on one of those tapes? I reckon they might be. You're the security guard, and you reckon? One more thing. When you go into the evidence room, you need an ID card. Thus the card reader by the door. Card reader leaves a record of every ID card passed through. 7. Okay, so is this gonna be important? Whatever, I'll write it down. If it's not important, or we get it later, that's fine. So all 7s. At 420. Bazinga. 8730579 at 440. 4989. This is probably going to be put into our record, but I'm writing it down just from so I don't have to look at the record even if it comes up. If it's not, then I think that 514 one is him, isn't it? Like the first 514 one. Yes, I did. Hey, I've seen that somewhere before. Sorry, Bambina. I can't show you more than that. Huh? I haven't heard whether this is related to the case yet. Mr. Wright, I saw a number on that record just now. I've seen that number before. Maybe there's some way I can prove that record is tied to the stabbing. Well, obviously, the ID we have. Sorry, but could you explain this whole transferal thing is about? We only keep evidence from solved cases in this room. We're kept here under the presiding detective's supervision for 2 years, so we can reinvestigate them if it turns out there was a mistake. See? So, what happens to the evidence after 2 years? It goes to sleep forever in the underground vaults at the police station. That's what we call transferal. We do it every February. I see now. Transferal is like a funeral for old cases. 2 years after a case is solved, it's closed forever, dead. Wasn't the statute of limitations 15 years? Never to be reopened again, never to be reinvestigated. And that happened to SL9 2 days ago. That was literally a plot point in the last game where it was like, or in the last case, where it was like longer than 2 years. It was like, what, 10 years or something like that when the statute of limitations ran out? Also, I'm not a huge fan of the Big Bang Theory. I don't know. I just know it's a thing. Anyway. I've watched a couple episodes. It's, nah. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that's weird. I guess maybe it's like, if something comes up, before 15 years is up, then they can reopen it, but if, like, after 2 years, the police aren't, like, really allowed to touch it anymore. That way they can move on to new cases, pretty much. But if something comes up. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, because clearly, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird. See this? This is the victim's ID card. Ah, the one that was on the ground in the parking lot. The number on this is 5842189. Officer Marshall, show us the ID number on that ID card record. Look, the fourth number. It's a perfect match. It was used at 514, right before the stabbing. What's more, there's only one of them cards in the world. So, when the incident occurred, Detective Goodman was in the evidence room. But wait, what did Officer Megan say? Sir, I entered the evidence room and asked the man to display his ID card. So you asked Detective Goodman to show his ID card. What did he do? That's the thing! Suddenly he pointed a knife at me! If he had his ID card then, why would he have pointed a knife at Officer Meekins? Alright, compadre, you win. I guess I can give you this ID card record. I've got an idea. Maybe I should show this list to other people with IDs here. Alright, now I think we can go and talk to Gumshoe, because we have to probably present this list to him. Alright. Could you take a look at this? This is the ID card record of the people who came in here on the day of the stabbing.
Ah, I heard the rumors. So it's Goodman who came in here at the time of the murder. Whoa!
What is it?
The second number!
It's not your ID number, is it, Detective Gumshoe?
Mr. Edgeworth!
What?
The second number on this list belongs to Mr. Edgeworth.
What? What? Why would Edgeworth have come to the evidence room?
Hey, pal, look at the time. Was
there something you needed to be going to?
It's just that Mr. Edgeworth's inquiry committee should be letting out soon. I'm going to give them my report for the day. It might help, you know?
Report? You mean the note written on the back of that flyer? The one that says nothing but no problems?
Hey, it's Mr. Edgeworth we're talking about. I'm sure he could use a report like this. I believe in him.
Who needs enemies when you've got friends like Detective Gumshoe?
I'm off, pal. Later.
I should probably see what Edgeworth has to say, too. Alright. Ah, yes. My apologies. Oh, it's you. Have we met somewhere? Huh? Mr. Edgeworth, I beg your leave. So long. Is Edgeworth here? There, standing by the window, a teacup in his hand. Ah, it's you. He has the hotel bring him tea service? Mr. Edgeworth, you're back from the district prosecutor's office inquiry? Precisely. By the way, Detective Gumshoe was looking for... Oh, by the way, Detective Gumshoe was looking for you. Oh, yes. You brought me some information, it seems. Really? Was it helpful? Apparently, a new French restaurant is opening near here. I think he was trying to console me, somehow. Wait. Wait. Hold the heck up. Look on that flyer. Oh my gosh. You can sort of see his outline. Wow, that's being consistent. That's being consistent right there. Wow. I guess so. I think he was trying to console me, somehow. I think the report is on the other side, Edgeworth. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. I think this whole thing is really taking a toll on him. So, how'd the inquiry committee go? Actually, they decided to treat this not as a case of concealing evidence, but as a communications error during the investigation. Concealing evidence? Yes, apparently there are some who believe that I concealed evidence. They gave me a warning. You were lucky this time. Again. Again. I've heard them say that so many times. Ever since that case 2 years ago. Are you okay for the trial tomorrow? Well, I'm still the presiding prosecuting attorney. However, something happened? They gave control of the investigation over to the police department. The police department? Yes, any further investigation for this case will be directed by the chief of police, Gant. I can do nothing but wait for his results. I see. Why, I ask you, why? All along, I've only done what I believe is right. I have nothing to be ashamed of. Still. Wow, I've never seen him this out of sorts. Oh, right. I'd better check this now. As I was saying, What's this? A record of ID card usage. Edgeworth, you went into the evidence room that day, didn't you? Just before the incident occurred, no less. Yes, that's true. Why, Mr. Edgeworth? Please don't look at me like that. I was asked to go. By Chief Gantz, no less. The Chief of Police? He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. Told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. But it was solved, right? It would have to be if the evidence was already filed. Yeah, the chief is never one to explain himself. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. Can I ask you what kind of case it was? I can't say. It really has nothing to do with the current case. Now I'm curious about this other case. I'd better make a note of it. Unrelated evidence, screwdriver added to the court record. Does it say SL9 on it? Stubborn as always. I told you this has nothing to do with the current case. I'm not so sure about that. Let me examine this. Hold on. What does this say? The tag says AI-16. What's that got to do with anything? Nothing, apparently. At least, that's what Edgeworth said. That makes it all seem more suspicious. Who knows? This might turn out to be the clue that breaks the case. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh boy. Now we've got a third one? Anyway. Anything else to talk to him about? Let's see. Okay. Let's ask about SL9, I guess. I know you. You've probably got a hold of some information already, right? It all has to do with that case you were on, the SL9 incident, and some dark suspicion you were wrapped up in. You are the man who revived the worst memory of my life, as I recall. I figured I'd be telling you about this sooner or later. A bad memory. He's talking about the murder in the elevator. Okay, Edgeworth. Why don't you tell me about it? Tell me the truth. The SL9 incident was a heinous serial killing case. The head of investigation was the Deputy Chief of Police at the time, Damon Gant. That wacky old coot was involved in the case 2 years ago too, then. He was the best we had, and it was my first time working with him. I was nervous. Wow, you can get nervous too, Mr. Edgeworth? What I want to know is why a Deputy Chief of Police was on the investigation. In truth, I used slightly more extreme methods than normal. We were dealing with a vicious murderer. If I let him go, the blood would be on my hands. We won our guilty verdict and the killer was executed. Wait, you didn't? Of course not! I didn't touch the evidence. Yes, I will do anything in my power to win a trial. However, I do have a code and I follow it faithfully. By the way, Emma, the chief prosecutor wanted to know something. My sister? What? You still working on that scientific investigation? Huh? Yes, of course. Why, just today Mr. Wright and I were using this. Luminal testing fluid. Well then, you might have use for this. Aluminum powder for taking fingerprints. It's been chemically treated for better adhesion. For me? Are you sure? We are the enemy, you know. I've no say in today's investigation. Do as you will. Edgeworth, I'm really... No need to thank me. Here, take your powder and these fingerprint files for everyone involved. Thanks! How about giving these to Detective Gumshoe as well? It'd be wasted on him, unfortunately. Well, let's get going. One last investigation. Right. I do seem to remember seeing a suspicious handprint somewhere. Alright, let's head back and see what was on those lockers. Our investigation turned up a suspicious handprint. Here! In the blood on the detective's evidence locker. Let's use the secret weapon we just borrowed. Right, let's get started. First, choose a finger. A finger? Each finger leaves behind a slightly different imprint. So, let's choose the finger that will have left behind the clearest print. I really can't tell the difference at a glance. Quit procrastinating and choose a finger. Alright, let's choose the thumb. That one got a full thing. Okay, now it's time to check for prints. Let me show you how it's done. Emma's starting to get that sparkle in her eyes. First, we sprinkle the aluminum powder around. Huh? How do you do that? Just touch the screen. See? Ah, it looks like that did the trick. The aluminum powder adheres completely to the print. Once the powder is well spread, just blow away the excess. Huh? How do I do that? You just blow, with your breath. Imagine you're blowing out the candles on a birthday cake. See? It's a good thing I have, the mic bound to a certain key. Because otherwise, yeah, this would be a pause and a half. Wow, that looks like fun. Might take some getting used to, though. It's fine. It won't go up your nose or anything. You just pour the powder on thick and blow it away the extra. Those are the basics of fingerprinting, Mr. Wright. I guess I'd better give it a try. Alright. Lay it on thick. Thick, 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 thick. And then... Aha! You did it! You found one! But this looks like nothing like a fingerprint. Now that you mention it, I guess it doesn't. What does it mean? I think it means we're out of luck. Out of luck? The person who left this handprint must have worn gloves. Don't tell me we've been wasting our time here. Hey, calm down. That's just the way it goes sometimes with scientific investigations. But it does seem a shame. While we're at it, why don't we look for other prints? Other prints? Looking at the locker door again closely, it seems like there's some fingerprints outside the bloody handprint as well. Let's see if we can find a clear print. Fingerprints outside the blood. Yeah, these here. Alright. There we go. Yay! A print so clear it's dazzling! Dazzling? Anyway, this print took a lot of effort to find. Let's match it up right away! So we're not done yet. This is quite a process. Well, there's no point in finding a fingerprint and not knowing who the owner is, right? I guess she's right. Look at the fingerprint data we got from Mr. Edgeworth, and point out the person you think left these prints. Huh? How am I supposed to know who it was? I could make a pretty good guess. The bloody handprint and the fingerprints are in different places, right? That means the prints probably don't have anything to do with our case. So, whose fingerprints would we most likely find on this evidence locker? Well, it'd probably be Gumshoe, wouldn't it? Yeah, it is. Aha! So these prints belong to Detective Gumshoe. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? You gave me this so what look. I guess that's probably because I was thinking so what. Okay, so we came up with nothing this time, but there's always next time. Sometimes you hint, sometimes you miss. You gotta roll with the punches, Mr. Wright. Thanks for the sympathy. Wait, if I remember correctly, there was one other handprint in this room. Let's check it out. Yep, I was thinking that too. I think this is the most, like, evidence we've had in a while. We're almost up to 3 whole, like, things. And we're only on the second day, too. This is where we got a luminal fluid reaction, right? Right! There was a handprint here! Okay, wanna try using this? There go her eyes, sparkling again. Okay, let's check for prints. That's the spirit! Oh, but I have to warn you about something first. What? The area where the blood was wiped away, right? We only ended up finding it using chemical means. Any prints in that area will have been wiped away too. Oh, right. So that means no prints. Would you say the probability of your hypothesis is high? Don't ask me. Anyway, we must try to find prints that weren't wiped away. Prints other than the ones left behind by the bloody hand. Oh, I see. Where the finger should be. Spread it. Spread the white powder, but don't get it in your nose. It's just sugar, right? Just sugar. Sugar or flour, something like that. Okay. No. Some similarities, but no. That's odd. Why would his fingerprint be on this locker? Is it his? If so, what's sticking out there? Hey! These fingerprints, they... Whose are they? Whose? Is it someone I knows? It's Officer Marshall, I guess, but... Aren't those prints in the same pattern? Like, they're in the exact same place where the bloody handprint is. Huh? Officer Jake Marshall? That's gotta be a coincidence. He's not involved with the crime. Yeah, or there's more to it. Probably there's more to it. Emma. These are decidedly different from Detective Gumshoe's prints. The luminous reaction. The blood and the fingerprints are in the same place. Oh! Oh! So we have Jake Marshall's fingerprints on a wiped bloodstain. But why would Officer Marshall... It looks like our investigation is finally turning up some results. I guess this is what you'd call decisive evidence. I don't believe it. Well, until we can ask him about it. I don't think we have much choice but to believe it. Hey! Got to the second day of investigations. Oh gosh, is this really gonna take... I really want to finish this trial today. We might be able to. Might be able to. So, what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecutor is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. And a different suspect was arrested at the other crime scene. Lana! Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how'd it go? It's as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't see capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But, Lana! Don't tell me you... Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Sky. We discovered traces left by a certain person in the police department evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. You found Officer Marshall's traces? Bloodstained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're gonna accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Sky? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright.
Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is...
I'm afraid you'll have to clarify.
It takes 30 minutes by car to reach criminal affairs from the prosecutor's office. The victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time.
But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared.
Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edwards' car. Wow, this is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today, I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now that's what set Mr. Edwards apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait?
Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand.
For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department.
The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer?
Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir! I am Officer Mike Meekins, sir! My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir!
So you're telling us you're a professional killer?
Sir, it was me, sir! I'm the one who did it! I'll never kill anyone again, sir! You've gotta believe me, sir!
Actually, what we'd like to hear from you is...
Sir, I'm part of what you would call part of the younger generation, sir! A person whose actions all else can possibly comprehend!
Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Help me, sir.
Officer Meekins. Yes, sir! Give us your report of the crime. Consider that in order. Yes, sir! As you wish! After all, I am part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir! You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. Crime report, sir! Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life. Then I did it. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake.
So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you?
Do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekin family motto, sir.
I see. Then you fainted, and a colleague helped you regain consciousness.
Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir.
Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
What I need here is more info to work with. Time to press him for more info, then. So, although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to the evidence room. Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir! I'm in charge of hiring new recruits, sir! Yikes, now there's a scary thought. No, there's a scary thought. Evidence transfer was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant that many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir.
The Blue Badger?
Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the head detective, sir. I was to ensure that it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for the day, sir.
I see. Sounds like a very, important mission.
After the award ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around. Then I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room.
Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room.
Tell us, what did you see when you got there? I spotted a suspicious man on the security system and rushed into the room. Okay, I already read that. Already read that. In order to enter the evidence room, you needed an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir! I have one right around here around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed in here, right? There it is! I found it! This is the one right here!
Could you please read us the number?
Yes, sir! It's 498... 9596. That's my number, sir! I see. Huh? The number... blah 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 blah... is shown as being used twice. Please, explain, witness. It's no mystery, sir! The first time is when I relocated Blue Badger to the evidence room. And the second time is when I went to go get him after everything settled down.
I see. So it's during that second time when...
Yes, sir! That's when I spotted the man on the security screen. So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir! A knife!
Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you? What happened then?
Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir! I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be... When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. See. You must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood, and then the next thing I knew...
Yes?
He punched me right in my face, sir! About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious. Oh, right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head, too! I woke up crying tears of pain.
That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is.
When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir! The Blue Badger, sir! I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now.
I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened.
Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point.
Yes, Officer Meekins.
With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my cell. Chief Gank delivered it to me just this morning, sir. Chief? Delivered it?
What is that? Videotape?
Yes, sir! That's absolutely right, sir! A videotape, sir! It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased.
That's quite a mistake.
I just do what I'm told, sir! It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like your communication with the police department is as good as ever. Sounds like Gant's out for Edgeworth's blood.
Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim.
Oh, please stop using that word. Murder, sir. It scares me. A video of a real murder. So what are we getting ourselves into? Alright, let's see this video of the real murder. Oh no! It's him! Man, fancy 3D graphics. So, of course the flag's in the way. And falls out. And of course the crucial moment is missing. Wait. Where did he get murdered then? There's no signs that he actually lost.
Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us?
What the heck was that wriggling piece of plywood? Sir! This is not the... That is the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir! It's a blue badger, sir! Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly?
Yes, well, anyway, this tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter, someone in the evidence room, and some sort of, activity did take place.
Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that all right with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir! As you wish, sir! His face can't be clearly seen in the video. But there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it.
What's this about a fingerprint?
Each detective has been given a locker, equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can be only opened by the detective it belongs to.
Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have been Detective Goodman. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
I don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start. Wait, wasn't he wearing gloves? How could he have had the fingerprint if he was wearing gloves? I guess he could have just taken it off, but... But you don't know that for sure, do you? You never actually saw Detective Goodman's face. Well, I suppose you might say that. That is, if you label people as having seen or not seen it.
Since his face can't be identified in the video, only you can verify it.
Why is everyone looking at me? If I had to label your stares as disturbing or... Meekins. Having been shown a questionable video at best, we are not in the best of moods. Now please be more certain when you testify. Yes, sir! You claimed the man who brandished a knife at you was Bruce Goodman. Tell us why you are positive it was him. About these lockers, is there no other way to open them? No, sir! I myself tried all kinds of methods in the past. They only respond to registered fingerprints, sir. I wonder what kind of methods he's tried.
If the man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to its registered fingerprints, then he must be the person the locker was assigned to.
Exactly my point, sir! And this, too! Locker he opened is okay. How do you know that information? I've heard rumors, sir, from the people in the know, sir! People in the know? The workers in the department cafeteria, sir. They kept me informed. They also listened to my romantic troubles, sir. For the record, The open locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verified this information through a more reliable source.
So the victim opened the locker with his own fingerprint.
However, the most important detail is not shown in this video. The man's face. Sir! If I may say something, sir!
Please do. After all, you're the one being examined.
I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock, and it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir.
Yes, you have a point. Footage doesn't lie.
That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with the security video? There's probably a problem. Let's just wing it. Regarding the video contained on this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange.
Strange.
This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not be Detective Goodman.
What? This video contains such a contradiction?
Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal.
Yes, Mr. Edwards.
I propose we have the defense point out to this alleged contradiction in the video. He would want me to point it out. He would want me to point it out.
Very well. Proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of.
I have to point out a problem in the video. This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it around. Don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer?
Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Where is the contradiction that indicates this man may not be Detective Goodman?
Okay. So we have the dancing guy. Stop. Okay. Do we get to see his hand there? No, we don't. Face covered, face covered, face covered. Something falls out. It's the hand? And we have him sneaking up on him. Where'd all that blood come from? And now he's gone. So wait, what was that? Hold up. All of a sudden he's bloody. What is up with that? The thing that's strange about this video would have to be this.
Hold on a second. I need to use my eye drops. Well, I don't get it.
Would you mind if I borrowed your eye medicine?
Don't look at me with those bleary eyes.
Before your eyes get too teary, perhaps you should think this through again, Now, what did I do? Play the video again. Very well, let's try this again. Just remember one thing, Mr. Wright. Every time you point your finger, someone gets hurt. But he's the one pointing his finger.
I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us the contradiction you speak of.
Okay. Okay, so... Is it here? We don't see his ID badge. But... Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna look at the walkthrough a minute. I'm sure it'll make sense once I look at the walkthrough, but... Ah! Okay. I see. So, Goodman hasn't even gotten over to his locker yet, and for some reason, it's already open. The thing that's strange about this video has to be this. Officer Meekins. Sir! Do you mean me, sir? As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. Why is it playing this music and not the usual music? No! When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If the print matches the registered data, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir! If so, then something is very seriously wrong with this picture. When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind a little earlier. Here, notice the light?
What's this? It's already out. It's already lit.
Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Ah!
Order! Order! What's the meaning of this?
It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker's locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked.
Oh, I know. It must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this.
That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction.
Oh well, it just goes to show that novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation?
Me, Your Honor?
Yes, why wasn't the locker locked?
Me, Your Honor. Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jam the electronic system? Something jam the sensor? Say, there's something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's gotta be another clue somewhere in this footage.
Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out the cause for this.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that I noticed earlier, but I didn't know why it happened. Look, right there. Something falls out. It was between the sensor and the, lock. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. And now we have to watch it again. They tried to do a lot with this case, didn't they?
What's this? Something white fell out of the locker.
But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. I often fall and roll great distances when I open my door, sir. We can't be sure that the item in the locker that item was in the locker to begin with.
What do you mean?
The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door?
Inserted.
Oh, I think I'm starting to get the hang of what happened here. Marshall, disguised as him, went in knowing that his face would be hidden to pick up something for him. And then suddenly, but he didn't expect Officer Meekins to find him in there. Officer Meekins didn't know that it was Marshall instead of him because he only recognized the clothes. This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 of the 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me.
But the object would have been extremely thin to fit in the door.
Not only that, it would have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator.
Yes, an insulator. But at the crime scene,
there just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator, you don't mean... I think I finally got this figured out.
Very well. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was the insulator that was stuck in the locker door?
Was it this glove? Extremely thin rubber glove, yeah. Yep. Oh, I didn't see it. You're good. I didn't see it until I figured it out on my own, so we're good. I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove.
But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker.
It has a tag that says SL9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker. But that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is that not so, Officer Meekins? Sir! It would appear so, sir!
Order! 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 So we are to believe then that the victim, who this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman?
Do not be misled, Your Honor.
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility, and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this.
What?
Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir! Me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. That was the wrong form of 2. Ah! Oh! Sir! You meant that, sir! Of course, sir! Is this a joke?
Very well. Begin your testimony.
Mystery Man number 2. There's only one thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card.
An ID card record. I see.
I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID used at 5:14 is that of the victim.
Just before the crime, Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room?
This particular evidence room is only used for sorting certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon.
Right. I see. Now, let us move on to the cross-examination.
Is that card hanging from your neck one of these ID cards? Yes, sir! This card right next to my cuffs, sir! I keep it here so I won't ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember what I said 2 out of 3 times? My tie gets stuck in the car door when I get out? Well, the remaining time my ID card gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer only has one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this.
Please proceed with your testimony.
Let it be noted that this is the record the witness referred to.
Let me see. Yes, that would be it. Detective Goodman?
What's the matter?
According to this, Mr. Edgeworth, your name is on here.
So it is, Your Honor. Not that prosecutor again. Hey, maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he could hide the evidence. Mommy, is that man in blue a murderer? Shh, don't stare at him. You've got the wrong color, kid. It would seem...
It would seem the inquiry committee will want you to speak with you again today.
I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. But now, let us continue this with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. It must be so difficult for him. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir. He didn't show me his ID card, sir. Sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't have been any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked? Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with this ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we got. Okay, probably just need to present the ID card somewhere. Yeah, because we found that card near the victim's body. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir! I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene.
That makes sense.
When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene, the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card.
Lost item report. It's only half completed.
But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess. You believe this something was to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there's a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card.
Order! Order! So now, what does all this mean?
It can only mean one thing. It doesn't require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card.
Order! 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 Does the prosecution have a response?
I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo. Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim's lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes. What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also a fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is... Well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago, you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't good. Well, well, it seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove.
Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth.
Defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime.
So
the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot, at the prosecutor's office. The murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness? Observe the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. I think we just accidentally boxed ourselves into a corner here. I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning.
The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim in Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman.
Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something, or else Lana... What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Object, of course. That's what we always do. One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter.
Mr. Edgeworth.
Yes, Your Honor.
If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you mean? Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness.
Oh, whom do you have in mind?
Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify, what is his or her name?
Jake Marshall. Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? I can't let him know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should also hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare.
Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time?
We will, Your Honor.
Court is in recess.
Oh my gosh, there's a second half to this. Oh my gosh, each of these have 2 parts. I think the last trial has 3 parts actually, if I remember when I was looking at the guide earlier to see how much longer it was. Wow. And we still have a whole... Oh wow, this is a really long trial. Okay, whatever. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you've figured everything out. I haven't figured anything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me?
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Oh, Detective Gumshoe. What is it?
You've got a lot of nerve, pal. Make detective runner all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals.
Sorry, Detective.
You better be, pal. Hey. Hey, hey, hey! Hey! I didn't see you there, Miss Sky.
That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked?
Oh! 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 You mean this, right?
My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name?
Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy.
SL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them.
I can't believe you. Chief Prosecutor, we're a witness in this case.
Miss Sky was a witness? Receive file of SL9 incident files. Oh my gosh, that's big. That's a chunky boy.
Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Now that I brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me?
Emma, but why? Why is your name in here? Huh? My name is in there. I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana, this SL9 incident... Is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the... Yeah, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. The Joe Dark? No, no, Lana! That's over with! No! Emma, wait! She ran away.
You know what? I just remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here.
Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth? Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone's involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you might just be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file. To be continued. Continuing. Yeah, I think people are busy because the update for Terraria came out today. It's a big one too. It's like their final like huge update. Journey's End or something like that. It just came out like a little bit before I start streaming, so Chime and everybody else is playing that right now. So but I want to get through this. So
The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky.
Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. Hold on, before you do. I'm looking at this file. Oh my gosh, we're past the 3, whole, like, inventory space part. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've played it some. I use this. Anyway, sorry, somebody was talking to me. Alright, so let's check out these files. Oh boy. So, victims, Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Neil Marshall, that's interesting, Jeb Bates, the prosecutor was Miles Edgeworth, and the witnesses were Lana Sky and Emma Sky. Executive investigator was Damon Gant, and Lana Sky, head investigator Bruce Goodman, investigator Jake Marshall, Angel Star. The criminal was Joe Dark, the crime was serial murder, and the sentence was death. Okay. Nothing really new that we didn't know before, besides the victims' names, one of which is related to, has the same last name as, what was it, the cowboy detective. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
Me, partner? I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization.
Occasionally, helping the elderly cross intersections when needed.
Oh, I know! You're a patrolman! As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out.
To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edward described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct?
According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best if we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In English. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't hear me complaining.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems?
I mean, the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those.
Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks inside the evidence room?
Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those?
He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or with following orders.
Everyone's got their weaknesses, now don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. My job was to keep... Okay.
used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct?
Of course. Back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence.
And yet, you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanisms?
Sorry, partner. I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a bike works.
That's quite, incredible. What's even more incredible is that Google, for some reason, thought I was talking to it. Anyway. The sensors on the locks handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too.
At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place?
If I remember right. Okay. What were you doing in a place like that?
I was eating spaghetti. Not even Angel's steak lunches could beat that parlor's vongole sepia pasta. Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles?
Not all desperados eat tacos, partner.
That's not what I meant. I hope this at least has taught you a lesson.
That's strange. This is usually where Edward says, Did you not want a raise this year? Out of ammo, Officer Marshall.
That's right, partner. Or as you'd call it, evidence. If you plan to pin me to this crime, then you'd better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that.
Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I'd best keep my cool. Before I use it though, I'd better up the ante. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room?
I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who entered the recordings.
You interred them?
Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape.
If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes are to be erased every 6 hours.
Each time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life.
This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So in actuality, you didn't physically enter the evidence room? Hey, Rain. Most people aren't here because, Terraria update, but me and Coyle are hanging out and we're into the trial part of this day. Shoot. Okay, so let's present the bloody fingerprint. Do you play Terraria at all, Rain? I know a lot of people on the Discord do. Where is it? Bloody fingerprints, bloody fingerprints. There's Marshall's prints. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime.
And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner.
It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind it at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint.
Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there.
I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood.
Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene?
The blood was wiped away. However, a luminal test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall?
It seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders.
I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall. About the blood-stained fingerprints.
Very well. You may begin your testimony about your fingerprints found at the scene of the crime.
This should be good. How is he supposed to explain away blood-stained fingerprints? That's not like oh, I had ketchup on my hands.
Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was, by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it.
Well, we know for a fact they left behind one of the gloves, didn't they? No, wait.
The witness' explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be any fun without any doubts, partner.
The defense may now cross-examine the witness.
This guy's hiding something. I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. That's because you, how did you put, pay your respects once a month?
Yeah, that's right. That, and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine.
What? What do you mean?
I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. Locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams.
I see.
That'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker.
Apparently his fingerprint data was never changed. He must have been using the fingerprint lock without even knowing it. So then, what about the bloody handprint?
Wasn't mine. It's no mystery.
Please explain.
My locker is covered with my fingerprints. It just so happened
that the murderer touched the locker where my... The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1.
On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why?
Unrelated?
They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast while the other's a type of murder.
He's right. Although seemingly alike, they're totally different.
I don't see what the homonyms have to do with this. How do you know that?
I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports.
There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too.
So that would mean the murderer was wearing gloves, happened to place his hand on top of Sir Marshall's fingerprint.
That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner?
The picture?
The seal of blood. In the desert, it's just food for the buzzards. Partner, there's only one reality, and that's this.
The security tape.
So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise.
This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall.
What do you mean by that?
You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have.
But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots.
Blind spots?
Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, he could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright.
Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now.
I think there was. Very, very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake.
Now then, let's have another look at that video.
Oh, they're serious this time. If I get it wrong, I'll be penalized. Okay, so I think it's towards the end here, this time. It might be... You can kind of get a glimpse of his face there, but it's not enough to say it's for sure him. So... Then he's gone. Wait. Wait. I knew it! Look, right here. Okay, so this is the beginning of the video, right? Look over at Officer... Dang it. So there's Officer Marshall's locker right here, right? He walks over. Something falls out. Here comes that guy. The fight. Still nothing. And then we pan back over again, and there, the piece of cloth sticking out. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall.
The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less?
Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video.
Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner.
The key lies in a certain locker shown in this video. See this locker that has a white claw sticking out? That is the witness's locker. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit.
Oh, the white cloth! It's gone! What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall?
When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away.
Order! Order! It would seem that only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why's everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man?
This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker.
Oh yeah? I call you bluff. You say I opened that locker. Now prove it.
Well, obviously the fingerprint thing. Or just maybe the locker, evidence locker itself? Yeah.
Fingerprint sensor?
We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to.
Well, what kind of crazy talk is this?
Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this.
In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't even know about the fingerprint locks.
So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Ooh, jerky.
I only got one word for you, partner. No! Order, order, order! Witness, explain yourself! If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard.
I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime.
Olé! Please answer the question.
What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest from here.
We can.
Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall.
If that is so, then where was the witness?
It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion.
Well then, let's hear it.
Okay, this is pretty obvious. Where was the Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? That's obvious. He was the victim. Officer Marshall was standing right here.
There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was.
Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in this video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous! Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at this crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me! Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it?
Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room. Someone must have been carrying it.
The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. Huh. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card.
Oh, I get it.
If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall?
You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it?
You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence, proving I dressed up as a victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence? Any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as a victim?
Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. Yes, we do, actually.
I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the only one who couldn't take the desert heat.
This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Nick, try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place?
What do you mean?
There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker.
According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason.
The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside.
Yep. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth?
Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot.
Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker.
Well, that's obvious. Blah, blah, blah. So here he comes, walking over. Here comes that guy. Altercation. And there it was. Right there. That huge bloody wound. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room. I don't know what that reason was. Yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood.
A bloody white coat!
You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker.
Not bad, huh, partner? Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we?
Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it.
Alright. It seems the time has come. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas would be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So then the supposed victim was really you.
But there is one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be?
Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor.
It looked like too much blood for that. When you say it, you mean...
Do you even have to ask, partner?
The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day.
Not if I have anything to do with it. The incident's not over.
But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room?
When a case is closed, only a detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine.
But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? Because I think he was related to one of the victims.
That day was my last chance. That's why
Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman?
If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere.
So you did it to fool the security camera.
And the detective ID card. I stole that the morning of the incident.
So that really was why Goodman started filing out that lost item report.
I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor of the prosecutor's office parking lot.
The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, You managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight.
What do you mean, partner?
I mean the fingerprints activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Normally, that locker shouldn't have opened. So it opened because a rubber glove was stuck in the door by chance? Then, Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall.
I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out.
You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off?
Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person, mistaking a detective for an intruder, demanding to be shown his ID.
I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence?
Anyway, he threw himself at me, and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out this way. And me knocking him out and everything.
By the way, what happened to your knife?
Oh, you mean this one?
I don't know what to say.
So what happened next?
So, you did your research beforehand.
Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. Secure tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone to plan, no footage would have been left.
However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins.
If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there.
What was Officer Meekins doing during the time?
What else? He was sleeping like a baby.
So what you're saying is...
on that day...
But the blood found at the scene of the crime certainly indicates a crime took place.
What are you, blind? What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner.
So, you stole the evidence from the locker. Alright, see you later, Coyle.
Actually, no, I didn't.
Why not?
When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence?
It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing?
Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer.
Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer, this is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. You can't be just forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution.
Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why?
I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related some way to the case. I better take another look at the files. It's because he was related to one of the victims. Where's that file? There it is. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident.
Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner.
I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall?
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago, you received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor?
You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did.
That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, chief detective at the time. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was eventually closed. At least, according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight.
And that's it? That's the reason for your inane actions?
There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, there's at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime.
That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happened by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecution's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that.
So, if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one.
Which, in turn, means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye.
But wait!
But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department.
It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner.
The mysteries at the police department have been uncovered. No contradictions remain. The murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. There were no errors in the testimony of the witness, Angel Star. Your response? Make it one word or less. I rest my case.
Seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt.
Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty.
Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant...
I knew it. It's her. Your Honor, wait! Emma, the defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right?
Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian?
Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker?
But no fingerprints were found on it, right?
No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So, I ran over there and looked at it again. Huh? So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them... Please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you.
Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does a reasonable doubt remain?
It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be...
Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day.
Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I object. There's a problem. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright.
You've been staring pretty intensely at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them?
Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark.
Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright.
With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use.
The question is, which item can prove something is missing in these floor plans?
And that would be the Blue Badger.
What about that piece of plywood?
The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here.
So?
So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well?
Well, what?
Yeah. That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker.
What? So that means, just exactly what does that mean?
It means it can't be done.
What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker.
Don't look at me. I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in?
Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom.
It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous! I refute you! The murder portrayed in the security tapes has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain why the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves it occurred. When did the first incident occur?
To surmise, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was disguised as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that event. Court evidence room.
The blood mark on the locker proves this.
Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? Proof must be presented.
Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that.
Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place?
Well, that is fairly obvious. The ID card record, it keeps a log of everybody that went in and out. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the perpetrator would have to enter the room. In order to do so, an ID card is required.
An ID card? Oh! The ID card record!
Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badgers panel into the evidence room at, let's see here,
4:50. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Ah! Ah! Miles Edgeworth! Just what have you done?
I never figured you had the nerve, boy.
Put off the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me.
Nope, I ain't getting it.
I'm afraid I don't understand either.
It's clear from the luminal test that the blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible.
That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room.
Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining, 777777.
Talk about a lucky number.
But wait, that doesn't make any sense. How could Officer Goodman have entered the evidence room?
Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 777777.
Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number this 777777.
That's 17 too many, Your Honor. Oh, my bad. I didn't read it all out, apparently. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least, at present. What?
Explain yourself, son.
The ID number 777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority.
If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted.
An official charge?
You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how prosecutors' offices operates.
I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate if you keep your slander to yourself.
Slander, is it? Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yes?
No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive.
Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number, and it is not 777777.
Don't blame me for a fool, partner. That's not what I wanted to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident.
The SL9 incident.
Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence?
Oh gosh, please tell me this doesn't go on for much longer. It looks like we'll have to take at least one more stream to get this done. This is a really long episode. Okay, it's pretty good though. Honestly, it's pretty good, but it is a really long episode. Like it's 3 times as long as like some of the regular ones, and it's like another half of like the last story episode. So anyway, do you want the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Huh? Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law.
Defendant, just what are you saying?
I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say you did?
Chief Prosecutor, you didn't.
I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
No. No!
Order! 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 Order!
Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. Okay. Well, thanks for watching, Rain or Jam Yo-Yo. Thanks for anybody watching on the playback. I hope I will see you tomorrow. I hope you have a good one, afternoon, evening, whatever. I hope you enjoy the Terraria update. I think I'll go playing that a little bit soon too. Mess around with that. Should be fun. Yeah, and I hope you have a good one, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow, where we should hopefully finally finish this case. Hopefully. And then we can play Fossil Fighter some more. I still have that T-Rex head. I'm so excited to actually get the T-Rex head working. Okay. Alright. See you later.